This video in the Vim series is going to show you how to edit multiple files in Vim. And the challenge is to stay in Vim the entire time. Let's jump right in. If you're new to Vim, your workflow probably goes like this. You open a file in Vim, you edit the file, you save the changes, exit Vim, open another file, edit that one, and exit again. Then you remember you have to make another change in the first file, so you take a few seconds to remember what that file was, either from memory or up arrow on your shell. Then you reopen it. You edit some more, close it, and repeat this process for any and every file. Now, just describing this is exhausting, but it's also mentally and time consuming. So here's how to edit multiple files while staying in Vim and making Vim do the heavy lifting of keeping track of all the files you've been editing thus far. Now, before we hop into Bash, there's a few Vim concepts we need to introduce. Your Linux files are stored on disk, but once you open them in Vim, they are loaded into memory, aka RAM. This in-memory copy is what Vim calls a buffer, and you view this buffer through what's called a Vim viewport. This is the window you see when you're moving your cursor around and making your edits. And every time you open a new file in Vim, a new buffer is created and added to the buffer list that you can view and navigate as you need. The buffer list is very powerful, as you'll see in this video and future videos, but start to become aware of this buffer list just for now. Now onto the Bash shell.
Release the Kraken!
Here's the test directory I'm going to use to demonstrate. If we open a file in Vim, we can see one file in this buffer list, which we can display with the command buffers or ls. Think of ls as an alias to buffers, and the output tells us the buffer number. The next column will have a combination of indicators and flags. I'll point out the relevant ones as we go on, but for now, just know the A tells you which buffer is active and visible on the screen, the file path, and the line number. You can view your current working directory with the Vim command pwd. Knowing this is helpful when you want to specify the path of the file you want to edit. Now, to edit another file in Vim, use the edit command and the name of the file, which you can specify relative to your current working directory or the absolute path. And now we have two buffers open, which we can confirm with ls, and we see that this one is now the active buffer, and it also has the buffer number of 2. Another way to view this information is by typing 2, then Control G. And we see the buffer number again and the full or absolute file path. Okay, so here's the million-dollar question. How do we navigate between these two files we have loaded in Vim? If you're thinking the commands previous and next, you would be incorrect. Here's another question. Why does it only say only one file to edit when we've already opened up 2? Well, the commands previous and next actually work on a separate list, the argument list, which is completely different than the buffer list. The argument list is the list of files you entered on the command line. We can view the argument list with the command args, but we'll stick to the buffer list in this video. The way to go back to the previous buffer is with B for buffer, then previous. And we use the previous commands to confirm where we are. To go forward in the buffered list, we type B again, then next. And we are back to the second buffer. And if we load more files from our working directory, we can view the buffer numbers and jump straight to the files to edit by typing the command buffer followed by the buffer number. So we can jump to buffer 3, buffer 5, and so on. Up until this point, we haven't made any changes to any buffers. We've just been moving among them and learning those respective commands. The moment you make a change, which we'll do by deleting these 3 lines, then try to move, Vim warns us that the current buffer has been modified and those changes have not been saved. Vim goes the safe route by default and will not let you leave a modified buffer. So we have a decision to make. We can either save the changes to disk, then go to the previous buffer, or we can override the warning with an exclamation mark, which hides the buffer. Hiding the buffer allows you to move on and edit other files. You will have to make a final decision about your changes when you exit Vim, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Another ls will show us the buffer we left is hidden with this H. It also tells us the buffer is modified with the plus sign, and you can ignore the pound sign. We don't use it in this video. A little quirk to point out. If you try to open another file in an unmodified buffer, you can do it easy peasy. However, if you try to edit another file from a modified buffer, going back to buffer 5, for example, we will get this error. Even the override won't work. To keep things simple right now, we'll use the command buffer add to add this file to our buffer list. Now we can edit that file if we need to. Just don't forget to override the warning. And to exit Vim, use the same command. Here it tells you which buffer we have modified that we need to make a decision on. And to go to it, just hit enter. And we can either save the changes, then quit, or we can override, which discards or drops any changes we've made. And I'll choose to override and lose those changes. And because that was the only modified buffer, Vim will exit immediately. If you had more than one modified buffer, Vim would step you through each one before exiting. Thank you for watching this video. We're going to build upon this concept in Vim and start to introduce windows and tabs. Have a great day.